Billy here. It's been a while, hadn't it? Oh well. I've been working long hours. That's no excuse, I know. I think of all kinds of things, and I want to do videos while I'm at work, but I can't. I can't do that. But then when I get off, I'm tired and forgotten everything. I'm going to start writing stuff down and just focus on one thing each day. Try to get good video in, or at least a marginal one. Better than nothing. Hey, it's free unless you're on Patreon. I haven't even got all my videos loaded into Patreon. Matter of fact, I don't think I even had half of them. That takes a long time, and I don't have time. I will someday. I'm working towards it. Won't be too long either. Next year sometime. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, there's lots of things to choose from. Everything's in decline. Everything is in the West. Everything's decadent. Everything's become horribly fragile, complicated systems because of the kind of people that get promoted in corporations and the kind of corporations that get promoted in our society. Corporations are running things. They have been for a while. You don't have a government anymore. You've got corporations. They own the government, so they can make campaign contributions. It's been that way a long time. Oh, here's something. This is something that really sticks in my craw. I see it again and again and again in the blogosphere. A lot of these commenters, well, they're followers, a lot of them are paleoconservatives or post-paleoconservatives or something like that, and they follow people like Charlie Kirk or Ben Sparrow or Mr. Prager, and they got it in their heads. And there's just a lot of good people are there. You know, they got your Second Amendment sites, and you got your sites that are sore about what happened in the last election and all that, and you got these people that, well, they haven't really had that much to do with political theory, and they've been indoctrinated their whole lives with Cold War propaganda, especially if they're my age or older. And all this stuff that's happening, what's your Jack Holmes that are doing it? It's communism, that's what it is. No, it's not. It's your corporations are doing it. Corporations aren't communist. They're international finance. It's capital. Communism and socialism has always been a tool, merely a tool of capital. The things that socialism, communism, Marxist theory and whatnot originally offered was a way to limit the depredations of the oligarchy, or monarchy in some cases, but mainly rich people exploiting the masses. That's what they offered. But then there's a bait and switch. Once they have their revolution, then the commissars step in and they take all the stuff away from the rich people. That's all they wanted to do anyway, and then they come down with all their tyranny. Not every time. I mean, Sweden's not like that, but I wouldn't want to live in Sweden anyway. Sweden's not communist. It's very, very, very socialist, though. A lot of countries are. And the political architecture that is created to limit the oligarchy sometimes is actually engineered by the oligarchy. So isn't that cute? And even when it's not, they end up gaining power somehow and bribing people and putting people in place to change it and re-engineer it and make loopholes for themselves. It's the corporations that are doing all this stuff. All of it. The transgender stuff in the schools, the medical tyranny. It's a money cow. It makes so much money for them, and it eliminates competition. And it makes the general population less able to fight back and organize. Now, the principles of socialism might be a good idea right now. Limit oligarchy. Limit it. Don't, have a bunch of commissars step in there and say, oh, I'm taking over, we're going to have a... No. But you have to have an architecture to limit oligarchy so that you have some rights. Democrats used to be like that in America back like 30 or 40 years ago. Oh, the last real Democrat was. Last one I remember is Pat Cato. Pat Cato, I don't think he's even still around. He might be. Haven't heard from him in a long time. All of them now, they aren't really Democrats. They aren't really, well, they call themselves progressives now, don't they? But they're not fighting for the little guy. They're not advocating for the poor. It's all turned into identity politics. And the communism and socialism they teach in college, that isn't communism and socialism. That's identity politics. Race baiting and now gender baiting and all kinds of baiting things. Ugh. It has nothing to do with Marxist theory. They claim that they call themselves Marxists, but a real communist would say that they're decadent and depraved. I'm not a communist. But then again, I'm not a laissez-faire capitalist that lets rich people do whatever they want either. If you have no controls on billionaires, they'll end up buying your government, and then we'll have what we have now. It's not the communist. I keep telling these people. They don't listen. They're just conditioned to automatically, it's communism. Why? Describe communism. How is this communism? I don't like it. It's not a very good description of an ideology. Organizing cells. Let's use communist terminology. Because I like doing that. It pushes people's buttons. But organizing locally and calling it a cell and having goals of a community, protecting the community. We need to have certain things in this community. Why can't you have them? Because rich people don't like competition. They want you to be on their system. They want you to be dependent on them. And they're moving towards where you'll have to have a subscription to everything. And it's not just paying. They don't just want your money. They're going to a whole new level. They're going to want you to believe what they want you to believe. And not be able to say what they don't want you to say. Or you'll be unplugged from your subscription. It'll be like Facebook and YouTube. You doubt this. That's what they're going to. They're wanting to get programmable money, and you won't be able to use the money however you want. It'll be programmable. They'll probably give you a certain amount of time to spend it, or it'll disappear. They don't want you to keep anything or save anything. They don't like competition. They like dependency. They're going to make you dependent. Is there anybody advocating for us? No. And anytime anybody tries, a bunch of freaking morons start calling them socialists. Ugh. It's very effective. The Bolshevik, I've said this a million times. I have friends that are Bolsheviks. I lived in Russia. I have friends that are communists. But they adhere to the principles of limiting oligarchy. They're not into taking away people's religion and dictating everything they think and do. That's not what it is. It ended up becoming that because, well, it was engineered from the beginning by Rothschilds. Jacob Schiff, a very rich plutocrat in America, a banker, part of the Rothschild system, he gave Leon Trotsky $20 million to fund the Bolshevik Revolution. Why would the world's foremost capitalist pay for a Bolshevik revolution? To kill the Tsar and his family and take over the government of Russia and establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. You think Jacob Schiff cared about the proletariat? The workers? The whole thing was a bait and switch. That loan was paid back many, 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 many times over. They confiscated all that property and all that art and all that money and all those riches and shipped them off to England and America, the commissars. Yeah. Such a deal. And the Bolshevik commissars weren't Russian. They didn't consider themselves Russian. They didn't consider themselves a part of any state or ethnicities. They were described as stateless cosmopolitans. Well, you can do some research and see that. They are all from a certain particular area. What is now Western Ukraine. There's a special area for a certain kind of people there. They know that in Russia. Putin's even said it in front of the World Economic Forum. That probably made some people mad. They didn't raise a big stink about it because they didn't want to get around. But he said 85% of the commissars, Bolshevik commissars, were of a certain ethnicity. Not really Russians. They didn't consider themselves Russians. Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote about it in his last book, 200 Years Together. I don't remember how to pronounce it correctly. My Russian's terrible. Oh, you can't get it in English. There's some translations, unofficial. People took the time to translate it into English, and you can find it. You used to be able to find it on the internet. You might still could. I have a copy. There are PDFs you could download, but it's very interesting about how the Bolshevik Revolution happened. People saw it coming. Dostoevsky wrote about kind of a foreboding of it, probably as early as the 1880s. Nihilism had arisen from the universities and the managerial classes. That's what it is. It's managers. Too many bureaucrats. All these bureaucrats. The Tsar loved bureaucrats. That was his big downfall. They had thousands and thousands and thousands of offices full of bureaucrats regulating and controlling all the commerce and everything in the empire when the Tsar ran things. I think there were 50,000 bureaucrats in Petersburg, according to Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or somebody. And a lot of them, well, if we can believe what they wrote and the journalists talked about at the time, a lot of them didn't even know what they were supposed to be doing. They just got a salary and had an office. They were supposed to look for things to regulate. Such people with idle minds and nothing on to do often get involved in radical politics, especially if they're a certain ethnicity. They have a proclivity towards that. So people just gravitate toward law school and managerial positions. Management becomes decadent. Things start getting more and more complicated where nobody even knows what anybody else is doing. And then somebody that's really clever and has a lot of resources or access to them and knows how to get control of more resources and wants to, they can play them like a fiddle. This finger doesn't even know what this finger's doing. You have them all doing their little task and they don't see the big plan. And they don't care. They just want to get their salary. That's happening right now. Everybody's playing their part, think they're doing the right thing because they only see this much and they believe what they're told. They don't look at the big picture and see as a whole, they're destroying their own society. They're enslaving their own children. They're empowering a malicious, malevolent overlord system. They're helping them. Bureaucrats are helping them. Doctors are helping them. Cops are helping them. Governors are helping them. I can go on and on. It's not sustainable. It's a nightmare because nothing works. They're just about extracting everything from it. They don't care about people. should be able to build a parallel system where you can make everything work. But then you have government people that come in and try to stop you. They have all the ordinances, regulations where you can't do that. Well, going to have to establish a Bill of Rights. Oh, wait, we already got one, don't we? Doesn't seem to do any good. It's ignored. Have to get real specific with it and start enforcing it. You have the right to feed yourself. You have the right to defend yourself. They tell you can't have a garden on your property. You have a right to have property. I mean, if you own property, why should somebody come in and they're doing some crazy things with farms, livestock, gardens. They've proclaimed that they have sovereignty over all that stuff. Doesn't matter who owns it. Trying to dismantle farms in Europe. Lots of strange goings on. They're getting away with it because people let them. Well, kind of goes in cycles, I guess. There's nothing monolithic. Even the globalists aren't monolithic. There are globalists among them that see that this thing's going to crash or it's going to blow up in their face. And they kind of sabotage things and help the non-globalists and even the anti-globalists. The Chi-Coms. The Chinese Communist Party isn't even a monolith. It's got factions. They're mainly controlled by globalists. I mean, the globalists got their hands in on that. Why do you think all the manufacturing went to China a long time ago? Higher profits. For who? The Chinese? Oh, they get a cut. They didn't take your jobs, you gave them to them. Should have held on to local control, small local economies. What we used to have. We used to have nice things too. Oh, there were things like Detroit and Bethlehem Steel, but they took care of their communities. They built simple things that could be maintained locally. We could do that now. We need a new Model T. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Not actual Model T, but something of the same principle. Something really, really simple, durable, that you could inspect it, maintain it, fix it yourself without having to rely on huge international global systems hooked up to computers where they can shut stuff off. And we can't get this chip for the Dudamaflachi that goes on the sensor on the mono hose knuckle gyro slinky that makes your seat heater work, and so that's why it won't run, because everything's interconnected. Jeez, that's why I drive old stuff that has, everything's analog. This is too new for me. This is a 1980, but I can fix it with a sharp stick and a rock if I have to. My last vehicle was a 72. It was a step van. I was going to fix it up to live in it, but I sold it to go back to Russia, and that didn't work out, so I'm here again. I'm going to get another step van and have a shower and a bed and place for my toolbox, heater. It's not going to be fragile. It's not going to be dependent on one system. I'll have propane. I'll have a drop cord too, and I'll have a wood heater. And I'll have a diesel heater. Got it all planned. And it's probably going to have a carburetor and an old-fashioned distributor in it. Points. I like points. I can fix points. I can take the lid off. I can take the cap off and look at them and see if they're any good or not. And test them and make sure everything's good on it. And then I go. These little computer chips and these little plastic castings hidden all over the vehicle. Can't tell when one of those will go out. And they do go out, and then you're screwed. You can find out which one it is, and it shuts down everything. Set of points in a carburetor, I can make it run. I've done some pretty sketchy things and got home okay, even on long trips. The cam follower wear out on a set of points once, so they wouldn't open anymore because there was no follower. Zip tie, baby, worked great. Can't do that with computerized stuff. They wanted everything to have chips and everything to have numbers, so it can all be inventoried and they can control it. You don't own anything you don't control. They want to control everything. It's in Klaus Schwab's book, and it's in all their TED Talks. They're all on the same page because they all belong to the same cult. They think that they can make themselves gods on this earth by controlling everything. And you're nothing. You're just a pest occupying space on their planet and using their resources. That's what they think of you. How come somebody doesn't do something about it? They talk openly of genocide in guarded language, like, you know, we need to reduce the world's population. Okay, can I talk like that? We need to get rid of you guys. Oh, I'd get in trouble for that, wouldn't I? I don't care. People have been saying for the last 2 years, well, you gotta wake up, we gotta wake people up. You gotta organize people. They have to be organized, and you have to have principles and goals. Goals and principles, and stick to them one at a time. And when the cops come up with their batons and their mace and their tasers and their guns and their armored vehicles and try to make you comply with stuff that's not constitutional, you got to stand up to them, and you got to do it in an organized fashion. Because as individuals, I don't care if you're freaking Rambo, you got to stand up to them. You got to organize. You got to be smart about it. A lot of people saying that. I don't see anybody doing it. Well, that's enough for this one. I'll try to do something a little brighter next time. Uncle Bill D, signing out.